You are watching a snake eat another snake. Head first. Unhurried. The one disappearing into that mouth is venomous. It carries enough to stop a person's breathing. The one doing the swallowing is in no rush at all. An ordinary adult king cobra, as long as a small car and lighter than one of that car's tires. It finishes the meal. It moves on. Whatever just went off in your head that this shouldn't be possible is correct. It's also not the strange part. The king cobra built its whole life around eating other snakes. Its name means snake eater. Kraits, true cobras, pit vipers, other king cobras. Every animal on that list is armed. The kraits and the cobras carry venom that stops a body breathing. Not once, by accident. It does this on a feeding schedule, walking into an encounter that should end it and walking back out. So you'd expect something extreme, the strongest venom out there, or a protection nothing else has. It isn't, and it doesn't. Its venom is no stronger than a common cobra's, and the protection it has, it didn't invent. What it has instead is a fit. Why does the king cobra's venom fit a snake better than it fits a rat? To answer that, you follow the armor, where it came from, who got it, and who got left out. And it's that last group that should bother you, because the one animal with no protection at all hunts snakes for a living. Before you can ask what that venom is shaped for, you have to deal with the answer everyone reaches for first: armor. Start with the ordinary version. A cobra bites a rat. The venom goes to the place where nerve meets muscle, the switch that tells the body to breathe, and jams it shut. The rat stops breathing. It's what cobra venom is for. Now a cobra bites a cobra. Same venom, same switch, and not much happens, because every snake in the cobra family carries a shield over that switch, a small sugar tag parked on the exact spot the toxin has to grab. It can't get a grip. And here's the part left out of every version of this story. It did not invent that shield. Every member of the family anyone has checked wears it. 13 species examined, 13 wearing it. Kraits, true cobras. The king cobra itself. It evolved once in the single animal all of them descend from for the most ordinary reason there is. A venomous snake needs to not die of its own venom. So the king cobra's great defensive innovation is being born, which means the snake in its mouth is wearing exactly the same armor. That switch in a snake carries a negative electrical charge around the opening. The king cobra's toxins carry a positive one. Opposite charges pull toward each other, so the toxin doesn't merely arrive at a snake switch, it's drawn in. A key that the lock reaches out and takes. Do the same at a rat switch and the pull isn't there. The key still works, it just has to let itself in. And then the king cobra floods the wound with so much of that key that the preference stops being a preference and becomes a verdict. So both animals in that mouth are wearing the same armor, and only one of them is still moving. The shield was never what decided it. The shape was. And the shape is the thing you still can't explain. A shield that useful doesn't stay in one family either. So who else went and got one? Almost everybody did. That's the answer, and it's the boring half. The interesting half is that one animal on this tree had the shield and gave it back. Hold on to that. It's the one that tells you what the shield costs. Start with the mongoose. It is famous for fighting cobras, and it earned that honestly. It carries the same kind of sugar shield the cobras do, parked at a slightly different spot on the same switch. Which is a strange thing to find. The mongoose is not in the cobra family. The mongoose is not a reptile. It arrived at the same answer from the other side of the animal kingdom because it was handed the same problem. And the meerkat has it too, the small upright one from every wildlife show you've ever seen. Identical to the Egyptian mongoose's version down to the letter. Then there's the other approach entirely. The honey badger doesn't shield the switch, it rebuilds it. One building block swapped out for one carrying a positive charge, and now the key can't get near. Whether that's because the lock and the key share a charge and repel, or because the new block is simply in the way, is still argued. The hedgehog does it. The wild boar does it. Which is a sentence worth sitting inside for a second. Somewhere back down the line, a pig's ancestors got bitten often enough that the pigs who couldn't take it stopped having children. And inside snakes alone, that sugar shield has been invented independently at least 6 separate times. It isn't only the hunters either. The bearded dragon, the lizard sitting motionless under a lamp in somebody's living room right now, carries a shield too. And a bearded dragon is not a snake killer. A bearded dragon is food. It's the first prey animal anyone has shown to carry that kind of protection in a laboratory. And it carries it well. It tolerated roughly 5 times the venom load that a chicken embryo did, which quietly changes the shape of the whole thing. This is not a hunter's weapon. This is what happens to anything that lives near snakes for long enough. And notice what all that armor is armor against. Not a poison, a grip, the same lock the king cobra's key is cut for. Why that key fits so well is still the thing nobody has explained. And the animals that live nearest of all are where it falls apart. The secretary bird eats snakes. The black-chested snake eagle eats snakes. For both of them, it is the entire job. And when researchers went looking for protection in the birds, a shield, a swap, anything, they found none. Not one bird examined carried any of it. The secretary bird's strategy is legs. It kicks the snake in the head from arm's length with feet that have spent several million years evolving into the wrong end of a golf club, and it keeps doing that until the snake stops being a problem. That is the plan. There is no second plan. Every mammal in this story built armor. The birds looked at the same problem and decided to solve it with timing, which brings you back to the one that gave it back. The European adder has this armor in its family history and no longer carries it. It is the only species examined that has reversed it, and there's a good guess as to why. The adder lives across northern Europe and Asia, where no snake of the cobra family lives at all. Nothing up there is ever going to bite it with this kind of venom, so the shield stopped earning its place, and evolution stopped paying for it. Which is the best evidence anyone has that the armor is not free, that it costs something to wear, every day, in every animal wearing it. So look at the ones still paying. Every one of them is braced against a grip nobody has actually measured. You have a shape that fits a snake and not a rat. Hold on to it, because there's one lock in this story nobody has checked. The switch a cobra's venom jams shut is the switch you are using to hold your head up right now. The same short stretch of protein in the same order, doing the same job at every muscle you own. One of the least changed structures in all of vertebrate life. Which is exactly why a snake on the other side of the world, one that has never once hunted a human being, carries venom that works perfectly on you. So, a key shaped for a snake's lock, delivered in enormous volume. It's a good story. It is also tidier than the evidence. Because when researchers measured that pull, 4 regional venoms tested properly, the snake they borrowed the switch from was a rat snake, not a crate, not a cobra, a rat snake. Non-venomous, no working shield, and a staple of the king cobra's diet. The experiment this whole answer is built on used, for its snake, a snake that eats rats. And that is the crack. Not that the evidence is thin, the evidence is good. It's where it stops. You were told this animal walks into an encounter that should end it on a schedule. The one experiment everything rests on used the other food. The key demonstrably fits the meal that can't fight back. Against the armored cobras and crates that can, nobody has run it. There's a second crack underneath it. That same rat snake carries a change that looks like protection, sitting almost exactly where protection should sit. It does nothing. Its switch is gripped harder than the switches of animals without it. Only 2 things on the list have been tested and shown to work: the sugar shield and the honey badger's swap. Everything else is a candidate. At which point you are entitled to say, so the whole thing is guesswork. It isn't. The pull is measured, not assumed. It shows up in 4 separate regional venoms. And when the charge is stripped off a snake's lock, the grip collapses. When it's added to a rat's lock, the grip climbs. Change the charge, change the fit. That is not a story. That is a lever. And none of this is history either. The shield is on every cobra in Asia tonight, and on the mongoose that will meet one before morning. So what's unsettled isn't whether the fit is real, it's how far it reaches. And that turned out to depend on something nobody had settled until 2 years ago. Go back to the mouth. Why does the king cobra's venom fit a snake better than it fits a rat? Because the lock it grew up against is a snake's lock, charged to pull the key in. And because it carries a heaped teaspoon of that key, about 1/4 of a fluid ounce at a full load, far more than any true cobra holds. In one king cobra, sequenced end to end, 2 of every 3 toxins its venom gland was building were that one family.
It's not a broader weapon than a cobra's.
It's a narrower one, aimed harder. And in October 2024, the king cobra stopped being one animal. It's 4, each held to its own part of Asia, one found nowhere but the hills of southwestern India. That's not a filing detail. It's the reason the antivenom on the shelf there may not save you. 2 products were tested against that Indian animal. Both failed. Not partially, completely. In Malaysia, 32 confirmed bites across 6 years, more than 2 in 3 while somebody was trying to catch or handle the animal. 4 in 10 needed a machine to breathe. 2 of these animals are going to follow you out of here, and I don't think either is the cobra. So which? The bird that hunts snakes for a living with no protection at all, or the adder that had the armor and threw it away? Tell me which one stayed. And if you've ever ended up closer to one of these than you meant to, I want to hear that too. There's an animal out there wearing armor against a threat it should never have met. And if you want it, it's one tap away, right there. It was never about what the king cobra can survive. It was about what it was built to open.